briefly want to talk about some other alternative contracting methods and what's next down the pike. For this administration, as Pam mentioned, they're all about schedule, delivery, and minimizing federal barriers that get in the way in the delivery process. And one of the low-hanging fruits that we still have not operationalized is something I call indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracting. Some people have called it job order contracting. It's primarily used for design contracts. It can be used for preventive maintenance contracts, and it can even be used for regular construction projects. But the concept is that we're not letting a final project with quantities, but we're asking contractors to bid on unit prices for an indefinite amount of work over a geographic area with the work assigned by task orders or work orders once the contract is awarded. And does TDOT use that for preventive maintenance here at all, or maintenance? No? Okay. Anyway, New York State DOT is one example. They have 10 to 15 what they call JOC contracts, job order contracts. Primarily for preventive maintenance, contractors are bidding unit rates for culvert cleaning, culvert replacement. They bid a contract for a given time period in a given area, one district of the state, and they have that contract for 2 years, and then the state will issue task orders for geographic locations, and they are responsible for implementing that work at that location at their agreed unit prices. So it's a very flexible contract for the state. It provides a lot of opportunities for smaller projects, and for preventive maintenance, it's a great contract vehicle. There was a National Cooperative Highway Research Program synthesis study on this about 2 years ago, and it found wide use in the design community. The second major row down here shows the state's use of IDIQs for design. 93% of the 41 respondents said they were using IDIQs for design, but only 59% said they were using it for construction, and only 78% for maintenance. So there's some familiarity with this at the state level, mostly with state-funded contracts, but certainly these contracts can be used for the Federal Aid Highway Program. If it's for construction, right now it would have to be under SEP-14, but I suspect with the level of interest from the new administration, we may be asked to operationalize IDIQ at some point in the near future. So this may be the next operationalized technique for federal highway. There's two basic ways of doing this. It could be done based on estimated quantities. Minnesota DOT does this just like a traditional project. They'll have a given geographic area, and they'll estimate that we'll need so many lineal feet of guardrail replacement, so many lineal feet of end treatment replacement during this time period. So they'll issue a contract with those estimated quantities, and people will bid the traditional prices for those quantities with task orders to be issued. The other way of doing this is under the job order contract is with catalog pricing. And it's probably best to show an example. There's a firm called the Gordian Group. They help a number of states prepare construction task catalogs where there's a task fully described with a scope of work and then itemized quantities and pre-priced descriptions. And the contractors are not bidding a price for the work, they're bidding a markup rate for the entire contract. So when New York State or New Jersey lets a JOC contract, the community, the industry, has a catalog of construction prices that's already priced fully, and the contractors are bidding markup rates to raise those prices, and the contract is awarded on the lowest markup rate. Still competitively bid, but it's awarded based on the lowest markup rate. So that's another option of IDIQ. Many people call it the JOC option, but there are advantages and disadvantages to using JOCs or IDIQs. And These are some of the states that are using IDIQ, JOC. Delaware and Vermont now have multiple award IDIQ contracts, gives them a lot of flexibility, but we have still some concerns regarding transparency and fairness. You're going to award to 5 contractors in State District 3. How are you going to award the task orders under those contracts? How does firm number 4 know that it'll get a reasonable number of contracts during that contract life, or work orders? So there's still some fairness issues from our perspective. How do you deal with change conditions? How is the industry going to be treated fairly if they're using this Sears catalog of pre-priced items? So there's still risk and transparency issues with IDIQ or JOC. Questions or comments on that? Okay. Final slide, I'll just cover this briefly. As I said, we're also looking at other types of contracting, best value in a number of states. New Mexico has this concept called performance-based contractor pre-qualification and procurement. It's very controversial. It would take me at least 10 to 15 minutes to explain it, so Ken, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put you through that again today. Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, and Michigan have looked at ATCs for bid build. And at least in Missouri, they've gone wild with ATCs, with bid build. Awarding on a low bid basis, but a contractor could come in with an ATC, and that's going to be, his bid's going to be based on that low bid award for his ATC. I still don't understand change conditions and risk and responsibility from the state's perspective, but MoDOT likes it. And then finally, one thing I wanted to mention, this is the far distant future, but it's happening now in New Zealand, the oil industry, something called alliancing. This is the ultimate in early contractor input. Teams are formed early in the process, in the planning or NEPA process, and you have a team of designers, material suppliers, contractors, maintainers, people that are all involved with all aspects of the project from cradle to grave, people that are involved in the planning, the environmental process, design, construction, materials. They form a team and they compete for the alliance that gets this project. And then they set up a series of target prices as the project develops, even as they go through the NEPA process. Can this concept work with federal highways? From our perspective, it has a number of issues to get over with conflict of interest. Generally, a firm that's involved with the NEPA process can't be involved to make a profit from design or construction. So there are a number of issues that we would have to get over, but I'm a true believer that it could be done under the right circumstances eventually. So I've talked a lot. If you do have questions or comments, final comments, we do have a website. SEP 14 is going to go on for a while, well past my stay with Federal Highway. There's always a state wanting to do something different. And Jeff and the people at the Resource Center have established this alternative contracting methods library. It's a great resource if you want to know what's being done on a national basis and lessons learned. So you guys are a lot quieter than the group that comes to Washington for the fly-in meetings. Okay, thank you very much.